Welcome to Monday here on In Focus. I am Thabo Mdluli and thank you for joining us tonight. With the ANC retaining 27 wards, winning 3 new wards and losing only 1 ward out of the 40 wards that were contested in the recent by-election, what does this imply about the opposition in the country? Do citizens have faith in the opposition? And do we have a strong opposition in South Africa? That is what my panel will be looking at tonight. Joining us for that conversation, EFF Head of Elections Mgcini Tshwaku, IFP leader Velenkosini Hlabisa, DA National Spokesperson Siviwe Gwarube, and UDM leader Bantu Holomisa. To be a part of this conversation tonight, WhatsApp your questions and comments to 072-110-5584, or you can tweet us tonight at Newsroom 405. Good evening to you all, and thank you very much for joining us tonight here on In Focus. I begin with you, General Leader of the UDM. If you reflect on the outcomes of the recent by-elections, would you say there is a strengthening of the opposition in our politics in South Africa?
Well, normally the by-elections are sometimes misleading. You cannot judge the strength of the opposition through a by-election. Even the turnout there is embarrassing. But let me first of all give a background. I hope you give me 2 minutes of your time.
You've got enough. You've got enough, General. Go for it.
Opposition parties have done a sterling job in this country. Yes, it was the PAC through Honorable Delil, who was a PAC member of parliament then, who exposed the existence, or rather the corruption in the arms deal. Yes, it was the UDM which campaigned for the scrapping of floor crossing legislation. Today, that legislation is no longer in our statute books. It was the UDM campaign UDM's campaign that saw Mgcini Tshwaku, chairperson of the IEC, packing her bags. Yes, it was the UDM that campaigned for the PIC to be investigated. It was again the UDM which compelled Speaker Baleka to use secret ballot in the Zuma matter in Parliament. Yes, it was the opposition which took the ruling party's president to Concord to force him to establish the Zondo Commission. The UDM is waiting for Zondo Commission's findings. Should the Zondo Commission concur that the ANC government, or the ANC rather, stole the government monies to sustain its party through companies like Bosasa, Chancellor House, etc., etc., the UDM, hopefully it will be joined by others as well, will approach the IEC and the Concord to disqualify the ANC to participate in any elections in this country, and that they should pay back the money which should have been used to develop this country, and in particular the poor of the poorest. So, as far as the local government is concerned, we will make sure that we file papers in that court to further compel those municipalities as to where did the money ended up, because some of the municipalities are bankrupt today because their money was channeled back to the ANC.
So, General, if you're saying that the opposition has been successful, I mean, let's look at the 3 roles that the opposition should essentially play. One is, of course, to convince the electorate that there is an alternative government to the one that is currently present. Secondly is to position itself as a viable space to raise issues that concern the public, but thirdly also the role of creating healthy debate to be going on around policies here in the country. So if you look at those three, if you say, for example, whether or not the UDM is viewed as next government, if you look at the numbers of people that come and vote for the UDM, you would not be ticking that particular exercise. And I know you have now raised, for example, issues around your strategies of holding the governing party accountable, or strategies of oversight, so to speak. But are you a viable space where people come to raise concerns?
We must not mislead the public. Let's talk to each other, looking at each other in our eyes. I've just narrated a story for you just now. The playing field has never been leveled in this country because one other party is using the state resources to garner for support. Where is this money coming from? Where they buy T-shirts, they have rallies, but of course for SASA, if that report, which was related to the Zondo Commission, is correct, then you will see that there was no way that there would be another party in the next decade. As long as they are allowed to use the state resources, let us level the playing field. Then your question will be answered automatically.
Right. If we look at the political arena today, Mgcini, and we look at the performance of the economic freedom fighters, would you say the election outcomes speak to a electorate that is not buying, or a majority of South Africa not wishing to accept the type of rhetoric and politics that come from the economic freedom fighters?
Well, thank you very much, Thabo. Thabo, I wanted to, and then I'd like to say good evening to everyone who's listening at home, and also to you. On our side, the issue of the by-election, remember we said by-election, we're using it as a scientific tool to really assess our performance, and also the extent of which our manifesto is being, perceived onto the ground. And then we use that in terms of assessing also the organizational growth, because we are an organization that is more, it's a socialist organization that believes in science. So these elections, they show us in terms of what are the strengths of the EFF, and also what are the areas, the challenging areas maybe, where we can actually move in and make sure that the structures of the EFF are there, and we're able to talk to our people. Now, we at the EFF, you must know that the successes of the EFF since the inception of the EFF in 2013, there are a number of things that EFF has achieved, and it has shown itself and demonstrated that it's an alternative, the government. I can name the few. For example, in Parliament, it was the EFF that we managed to achieve through the motion to amend the section, the 25 of the Constitution, to start the process of expropriation of land without the compensation. We actually got former President Zuma to pay back the money. We also effectively led a political process that stopped the Gupta criminals, syndicate running into the country, and so forth. And so there are many things that we actually have been doing in Parliament. You've seen that. And also, Thabo, you know that with many people in South Africa, they have not been watching Parliament. They didn't know anything about a judiciary. They didn't know about any commissions. It was their EFF which was vibrant and managed to make sure that there's sort of an interest in Parliament. It created an interest in Parliament through its revolutionary militancy and robust debates in Parliament, holding the executive into account.
Yeah.
And we do that. We are the ones, we are raising motions in Parliament. We are raising questions in Parliament. We're using every instrument in Parliament so that we can hold this executive in.
Mgcini, I'm having challenges there with that
And
connection.
also, we're not like any Africa.
Sorry, we missed
Okay.
a whole chunk of what you were saying there because of the connection. Let me take a break and let's try and establish a better connection there with you as well so you can get what you're saying. That's Mgcini Tshwaku there for the EFF. We're also trying to get a hold of Velenkosini Hlabisa. Siviwe Gwarube standing by, Bantu Holomisa with us as well tonight. You can be a part of this conversation. WhatsApp your questions and your comments tonight to 072-110-5584, or you can tweet us at Newsroom405. That is In Focus, continuing for you in a moment. In Focus continues for you tonight as we reflect on the performance of opposition parties in the country. Are our political parties serving the interests of our country, or are they pushing to achieve their own policies and creating their own leaders who inspire? With us tonight for that conversation, EFF Head of Elections, Mgcini Tshwaku, IFP Leader Velenkosini Hlabisa, DA National Spokesperson, Siviwe Gwarube, and UDM Leader Bantu Holomisa. You are part of this tonight on WhatsApp with your questions and your comments on 072-110-5584. So for the break, Mgcini, you were outlining some of the achievements that you have so far being able to put together in Parliament. But here's my question for you, right? If I listen to what you're saying, if I listen to what the General just said now in terms of the wins that you all have gotten in Parliament as far as your oversight strategies are concerned, it's something that's pretty much similar. Yet we continue to fail in attracting millions to the polls, even with there's over 40 political parties that are on the ballot sheet. Would the energies not be served better if you would unite those political parties and actually work towards an alternative government?
All right. Okay, as I said, sorry about that, I had some connection here. As I said, that we've got, since the EFF has actually started being in Parliament in 2013, there are so many achievements that we've done as a socialist movement. One of them is that we managed to ensure that Section 25 of the Constitution has been amended. We managed to ensure that the issue of the Gupta is actually putting into the spotlight. Through our parliamentary, the processes itself, we've raised a lot of bills like the National Health Bill, the insourcing bills, legislation, and all of that. Yeah. So we've been there, and we've managed to make sure that Parliament becomes vibrant. It's the Parliament of the people, and many people in South Africa, as we've seen, that they've been interested in terms of what is happening in Parliament, and that is all because of this EFF. You must remember, that. EFF, we just been formed in 2013. We are actually turning 8. And then when you're building a brand, it takes time. So we are not in a hurry. We are building this organization very nice and slow, and we are taking our time. What is very critical for us, as I've been saying and saying every time I come into the studio, is that we are using, these by-elections as a tool to assess in terms of how far are we in terms of our electorate, receiving our message of economic freedom in our lifetime. So we're using that, engaging it. Yeah. So we're saying that for us is about the growth. We are growing.
So are you saying to us, Mgcini, for you it's more important as a political party that you achieve your policies and create an awareness in society about your policies more than it is about serving the interests of the country?
So remember that we actually we formed the EFF because we love the country, because we found that many people in South Africa, they don't have the land. The economy of the country is not in the hand of the people. What is the vehicle that you use to actually do, what vehicle that you use so that you are able to change policies and to change the laws of the country? You use a political party. What you do is that you form a political party, you form structures so that you can conscientize people on the ground. Now, once you've conscientized people that you don't have the land, you don't have the means of productions, and you don't have all those things, and then you start to convince people, and then you start to have a mass power. With that mass power, you are able to win the elections. And once you win the elections, you are able to implement the policies that will be able to help the people, the majority of everyone within the country. So we formed the EFF because we love, we want to make sure that people have the land, the economy is actually there. Now, we are making sure that we are growing. For us as the EFF, yes, we want to govern. That's the fact, so that we can implement these policies of ours. But we are growing very steadily because remember, we are everywhere in the whole 4,463 wards in South Africa. So we are very happy as we are growing. But we know that come 27th of October, we want to take over. We want municipalities so that we are able to change the lives of the people. So as you know that in 2014, we're sitting at about 1 million votes. And then in 2016, we grew to 1.2 million votes. And in 2019, we went to a whooping 1.8 million votes. And if you remember, in 2016, we hung metros and some of the local municipalities. And in those municipalities, through the EFF, we've managed to influence policy. For example, the insourcing of the workers in Joburg. We've managed also the councillors of the EFF in Johannesburg. They were able to influence budget so that that budget becomes a pro-poor budget.
Yeah.
Tshwane, the same thing. Security guards were insourced. From earning 4,000 rand,
yeah,
when they were insourced through the EFF motion,
yes,
were able to increase their salaries.
I'm going to come back to that, because with all those achievements, but you still have a difficulty in bringing all those interests together to actually making you the alternative government. Let's speak to you, Siviwe, then. Let's talk at what the DA has been doing so far. I mean, if you look at what your performance has been in the last couple of months, one would say you're underperforming as opposition party. The DA has dropped support in some key areas, even with the conflict within the ANC going on, one might even say going into becoming a crisis. The DA has become a weak, splintered opposition.
Good evening, Thabo, and good evening to my fellow panelists as well and the people at home. Look, I mean, I think, as you know, I think it's quite important to also just note that organizations go through turmoil and they go through difficult times. The DA has not been spared from that. But I think I want to circle back to the question that you had posed to Mr. Holomisa, and I think he really did illuminate something that I thought was really, really important about the role of opposition parties, particularly in a constitutional democracy. Because if you listen to both the panelists that are on here and who were listing some of the things, and of course, some of them are just limited to their political parties, but if you listen to some of the things that they've said, you'll realize that firstly, as you in your own introduction have said, that opposition parties are important as a way of holding government to account, are important as a way of being able to participate in a constitutional democracy, bring about change, and inspire people to elect them into government. And I think if you look at that and you look at the performance of opposition parties in the past 27 years, a lot of some of the things that have been achieved have been due to the fact that there's been a vibrant opposition parties. There's been new political parties like the EFF who joined parliament. There's, as you said, there's over 40 political parties in South Africa. And I think for me, we're all the better for it, Thabo. I think to perhaps even, you know, suggest that, you know, would we be rather better off, you know, combining as opposition parties? Perhaps not. And maybe it's a discussion for another day. For me, the constitutional democracy in South Africa is all the better for it, because we've been able to push certain reforms. We've been able to show South Africans what we can do. And where the DA is concerned, I mean, I think if you're looking at the three criteria that you listed right at the beginning of your introduction around being able to inspire confidence in people to be able to vote for you to govern. So, and that for us as the official opposition has been the benefit of being able to govern, where we govern in the way we govern in the city of Cape Town and various other municipalities. Now, the beauty about that is that we are able to showcase what we can do in government. And Thabo, I've said this to you before. It's not the DA that's simply saying this. Every single independent indicator has shown that where we govern competently, where we govern and we run clean governments. And so that's the offer that we're taking to people as we're going towards the end of October, to say, judge us by our performance governance, judge us by what we've been able to do and how we've been able to change lives.
People would say people are judging you by that and by how you conduct your business as a party, and at this particular point failing on all accounts to be able to get that black vote. And if you don't get that black vote as the DA, then you might as well forget being the alternative government in this country. Yes, you will continue to be a good party in parliament to hold this government to account, but you will never become the alternative government.
Look, Thabo, I mean, it's mathematically impossible for the Democratic Alliance to be a party of over 20% or over 21% if we did not have Black South Africans supporting us. And I think we've got to just look at the facts. And so to say that we are unable to obtain the support of Black South Africans would be inaccurate, because if you look at some of the measures that we've been able to govern in the past and some of the measures that we are gunning for now, all of these things were brought on by the fact that we enjoy the support of all South Africans across all the spectrum. And what becomes a more difficult project, I suppose, for the Democratic Alliance is that we don't segment the electorate along racial lines. We have much difficult propositions to South Africans where we're saying we want to deliver for everybody, we're targeting everybody, and we want to inspire all South Africans to join us on this journey. And it's a difficult thing in the rise of populism, both on the right and on the left. Yeah. But we've got to keep on doing it because the project is bigger than that.
In a way, that's exactly it. You have not really been able to do it both. To a degree, for a while you did, but do you, for example, see the return of Helen Zille back into the party and creating an atmosphere where young black leaders are leaving? I don't know whether they feel unwelcomed anymore, as something that is creating a difficulty with the party taking your message to a black community.
Not at all. I mean, I think, firstly, it's also quite important to note, that we've got over thousands of delegates who elect members and who elect the kind of members or who elect leaders through a federal council. So it's, we also have to be careful not to treat these things as though they are mere appointments. People are elected. They're elected by branches. They're elected by structures. And of course, no one and no organization can ever celebrate the leaving of talented, great leaders or people in their organization. And in my view, it presents a great opportunity for the party, whether you look at electoral support, whether you look at people who have left or people who have resigned for various other reasons. It's a great opportunity for the organization to introspect and to say, how is it that we inspire South Africans to turn out? Because actually, that's the bigger challenge, Thabo, because a lot of South Africans are losing faith in the ANC, but we've got to get the right people. We've got to get South Africans to turn out to vote. And that, for me, is the bigger challenge of all of us as opposition parties, getting people to go to the polls and realize that they, too, have the power to fire and hire a government of their choice using the ballot box.
Hlabisa, thank you very much. We're glad that you could finally come on and join us tonight. We're talking the reconfiguration of opposition politics in the country. Is there a way that parties like the IFP in the opposition benches can rethink their approaches to politics so that they are not just relegated to being the opposition into perpetuity, but they actually become the real alternative for government?
First of all, Thabo and the viewers, let me apologize. The load shedding struck in at 8 o'clock, and I might get disconnected because the network also shows that even Telkom is struggling. This is the problem that was created by the ruling party of embezzling funds at Eskom, and here we are. But to come back to your question, Thabo, the IFP is a political force in South Africa that cannot be ignored. We are not only sitting on an opposition bench, we govern municipalities in KwaZulu-Natal, we are part of governance in Johannesburg, and we are going to be reclaiming many municipalities in these coming elections, because we are not only an opposition party, we are an alternative in South Africa. You could notice in KwaZulu-Natal in 2019, during the general elections, we became the official opposition against the ANC. Definitely in 2024, we are taking out the ANC because it has failed the people of KwaZulu-Natal. We are not only geared as an opposition, we are geared as a party that has experience in governance. We once governed KwaZulu-Natal, we will govern KwaZulu-Natal, and few years down the line, we will be in governance in the country of South Africa, as people are showing a lot of discomfort and loss of confidence in the ruling party, the ANC, because of the corruption that is being read day in and day out by the citizens of our country.
Let's take a break. We'll come back to you, Hlabisa, in a moment. I want to ask you a question. Do you see a ANC voter will go for IFP? Because the current statistics reflect that instead of going for the IFP, they'd rather stay at home and actually not go and participate at the ballot box. We'll continue here on In Focus in a moment with Mgcini Tshwaku, Velenkosini Hlabisa, Siviwe Gwarube, as well as Bantu Holomisa. Let's take your views tonight on WhatsApp 072-110-5584 or tweet us at Newsroom 405. In Focus continues next. Welcome back with us on In Focus and our conversation reflecting on the strength of politics in the country. Mgcini Tshwaku, Velenkosini Hlabisa, Siviwe Gwarube, and Bantu Holomisa with us tonight. Babu Hlabisa, if you look at mathematicians and the numbers that they look at, it is commonly believed in South Africa that voter turnout reflects a different picture. It doesn't reflect an ANC voter moving away from the ANC and voting for the IFP, but it rather reflects a voter that stays at home because it believes maybe that the current top four are not viable or feasible options.
The recent evidence, Thabo, last week on Wednesday in a by-election at Opongolo, the IFP took the ward from the ANC. It was a big swing of the voter voting for the IFP and neglecting the ANC. In November last year, it was a big swing at Inkandla municipality when the IFP took the ward from the ANC. Not that the people did not go to the voting station. If you look at the swing of votes, it's a clear demonstration that people went for the IFP. In 2019, in KwaZulu-Natal, the ANC was cut down and the IFP increased considerably its vote. Even as we are going to the local government in October, we are going to take a number of municipalities from the ANC because people have protested almost throughout 5 years and they are tired of the ANC. They want an alternative, which is the IFP, and we are confident that we are an alternative to the people of South Africa.
General, would you say then the issue that you raised of using state resources to campaign and suppose by and large gain the national footprint and the visibility nationally that is currently being enjoyed by the ruling ANC is something that you as the UDM, you will never enjoy, and you've accepted that you will never enjoy that and you will then therefore remain in opposition? I think you're muted, General, if you can unmute for us.
Sorry, we will never achieve our objectives all in this country if we continue to allow the ANC to use the state resources. And I hope that the findings of the Zondo Commission will come up with some recommended stringent measures to avoid party leaders and their parties to use the state resources to beef up their party coffers, for their party coffers. So I hope that we will draw a line after the Zondo Commission. But as I've said earlier, the UDM after the Zondo Commission will test some of the findings in the IEC as well as in the Concord as to whether if the ANC has been stealing the government money to sustain their party all these years, what should we be doing about people who have stolen the money? Let's follow this money, and then the ANC must be barred from participating in any election if the Zondo Commission is saying they have stolen billions of rands, as we have witnessed during the hearings. I'm not going to leave this one lying low.
Yeah.
We have to sustain this campaign. Remember that it was people like us who, as early as 1995, talk about corruption. I'm so happy today that everyone is talking about corruption, and it has engulfed the ruling party. But there must be an action. Otherwise, there's no need for these commissions of inquiry.
Do you see something like the bill on political funding as something that will help level the playing field, as it were, as you put it? And what would be your strategy for a national footprint and national visibility, indeed, should that playing field be leveled?
Well, of course, you will be able to be mobile. That party will be able to open branches all over, and the party will also make sure that they are well equipped in terms of the material. The policies are there. So we are ready, but let us level the playing field. But those who have stolen the government money, they must be disbanded completely from the system.
Mgcini, do you see a potential DA voter going towards the EFF in the upcoming local government elections?
You remember, Thabo, that the most voters of the EFF scientifically, as you've seen, that they're more the working class, the poor, the black individual that is there. And then DA, its voters are more white. So, so it's, and you have a sprinkle of like blacks there and there, and we call them like non-whites. But more in terms of our terrain, the people that we are actually in contestation with is the ANC, because we are actually serving the same constituency and all of that. It's even worse now with the DA, with the, there's an exodus of like black elites which are leaving the DA because of its racist nature. That is actually assumed at this point in time. But our focus is actually more into the working class, the poor, and those ones who don't have the land and the means means of the production there. So that is where we are now at this point in time.
But that's exactly what I'm asking you. Do you see that black voter, that elite black voter that is leaving the DA, that does not want to go to the ANC, actually coming to the EFF at this point? The reason why I'm asking is because we continue to see opposition parties, actually many say, representing their own political party interest, right? Their own expediency, more than actually coming up with a message that speaks of the Republic and that will attract anyone from any sphere of society.
Yeah, Thabo, it's very simple, is that the EFF is for everyone. Those who don't have the land, or those who don't have the means of, the production and all of that. So it's open for everyone. We don't look into those, but we must make sure that, that the people who are joining, must be disciplined, but we welcome and all of that. And we keep on going out there. We preach our message of economic freedom in our lifetime. So we are open in terms of everyone can join the whole, even people who are leaving the whole DA. But we've seen that what I've seen in terms of the elections, when I do my analysis, I've seen that many of the people who are leaving a DA, they still they go into the other political parties like the first, the ones of Mashabas and all of those kind of stuff like that, because they're following this neoliberal, the politics where they believe that you must have, you must privatize. You must believe in privatization, and also, you must not. They don't believe in the policy of land expropriation without compensation. We're saying that our policies are out there. It's for the landless, those who don't have means of those who don't have means of the production. So if you believe in those, you are welcome in the EFF. It's open for everyone. Yeah. So we welcome all those, call them non-whites who are coming from the DA. They can join the EFF as well. We welcome everyone.
Before I give Siviwe, I see you shaking your head, Siviwe. I'm going to come to you in a moment. Then here's what I want you to say. Within your party, right, in fact, amongst all political parties, but particularly looking at the ANC, the DA, and the EFF, a struggle between your own belief as a leader and the belief of the dominant faction within your political party as part of the challenges that opposition parties are dealing with today?
We don't have any factions within the EFF. I don't know. That is the myth. You know that there's one, where the Central Command team that is there. We went into the National People's Assembly. I don't know what factions people are talking about. Obviously, as you go to the National Assemblies, you have the contestations of ideas. Now, when we go into the National or People's Assemblies, we debate all those issues like, our policies, our ideologies, our policies on health and all of that. So we get into have differences in terms of the outlook. But when we come out of any political meeting, we believe in what is called democratic centralism. Democratic centralism is saying that you debate issues, and we debate. And I can tell you now, we can sit in meetings from 9 o'clock up until late. We debate the issues, but once the issue has been adopted by the majority, everyone must fall in line. And we believe in actually that in the EFF. That's why you don't find people after the meeting of this EFF or when there's any activity of the EFF, you don't have people breaking ranks. Those who are breaking ranks, we say to them that they are defining themselves outside.
Would you say that is that driven by blind loyalty to the political party?
No. We are loyal to the policies of the EFF, the 7 non-negotiable cardinal pillars of the EFF. That is our faction. And also, in terms of land expropriation without compensation, this EFF is that we look at the policies, and everyone that is articulating, myself when I'm here, I cannot articulate what I feel, because the EFF, we went into the conferences, we had meetings, we've debated the issues. They said this is the position and the strategic direction that the political party, such as the EFF, it must actually take. And when I'm coming in, I must articulate the views of my political party in terms of, these policies. So if you have individuals that actually define themselves outside of the policies of the EFF, then that is ill discipline itself. And we believe what is called a democratic centralism, where we debate the issues. It becomes very colorful. You'll be amazed, actually, is that we even take the leadership, on in terms of the issues which are actually there. Then when my view is actually defeated in a meeting, then I must fall in line, because the majority has actually defeated me. And then it becomes, it becomes the resolution of the whole party election itself.
Yeah.
So that's why EFF is growing, because we are actually focusing on growing the party. We are focused on programs of actions, because EFF, that we are, we have actually a plenum that is happening at the beginning of the year. We plan the program of the year. And our structures, we keep them busy in terms of programs. And then we also, you remember that we had actually had campaigns on health, with campaigns on education. So we are building this thing when I put Thabo, slowly but surely from the ground up very nicely. Because remember, when you're building a house, you start with a strong foundation. We don't want when we're having a roof and the foundation collapses. When we entered into the political space, We are entering very nicely. We went into the legislatures. We went into parliament. We have taught ourselves in terms how parliament works, how to raise motions, how to hold the executive into account. So we are getting there very slowly, and we're united, and we are growing. A party, lastly, if you want to see a party which is growing, you look at the stability of the leadership itself. The leadership of the EFF has been united. We've been having the programs. And then if you want to test that, scientifically, you must look at the results of the elections from the beginning up until now. We've been growing very nicely, very smooth. But on the 27th of October, we are ready to govern. That's why I said that we're going to go into the municipalities.
Right.
We are going to show the country what kind of a municipality that that they must have in terms of a model of a municipality that the EFF will have. It will be one of the best run, and it will be the one that will deliver the services to the people, job creation, and all of that. With the DA1, with the DA1, they must tell the country why the places like Kaili, Chanyanga, and the black areas. I want maybe to tell us.
Let's come back with those questions in a moment. Mgcini Tshwaku, Velenkosini Hlabisa, Siviwe Gwarube, as well as Bantu Holomisa. Siviwe, I'll give an opportunity to respond to all those issues that are being raised there. In a moment, let me remind you also, the next hour, Belgium returns the remains of Patrice Lumumba. We'll speak to PLO Lumumba, Professor of Law and Advocate of the High Court in Kenya, in a moment here on In Focus. But when we continue next, we take your questions on WhatsApp 072-110-5584. Stay with us. Live on Newsroom Africa, channel 405. Your In Focus continues now, and we reflect on the strengthening or the weakening of opposition politics in the country and what leads to that as we take a deep dive into some of those big issues. Siviwe Gwarube, your turn to respond. How do you break into this black African vote? Is there a strategy within the Democratic Alliance to deal with that, or has the party completely given up on that?
Well, I need to debunk a number of things because, of course, I mean, this conversation around the strengthening of opposition parties or their role, it can't be centered around just simply what are some of the weaknesses of certain organization or whatever the case may be. So I've got a number of things that I want to debunk and some of the things that Mgcini also raised. So number one, as I said, mathematically speaking, it is virtually impossible for the Democratic Alliance to be the official opposition in South Africa if we do not enjoy the support of millions of South Africans across the board. It's not possible to segment as a party. It is something that is within our founding values where we do not segment the electorate simply along racial lines. That's something that Mgcini can't relate to because, of course, as he stated, these political parties only focused on a particular segment of the population. We've got a bigger task at hand, a task that says we want to see a non-racial South Africa. And in doing that, we've got to be able to bring people on board. But secondly, one of the things that we've understood and we've understood well is that South Africa has a deep inequality problem that has been exacerbated by the incompetence and the corruption of the ANC. So where we've gotten into government, we've gotten there with the sole mandate of cleaning up the rot, running governments that are efficient and that are clean, and making sure that services are delivered to the people. So if you look at literally just the other day, it was released that by the Auditor General, 90% of municipalities in this country are in the red. However, the few municipalities that are not are the municipalities under a DA government. So you literally cannot dispute the independent reports that are coming through and saying, here are municipalities or governments that are being run where money that is meant for public use is meant for public use.
But here's the other thing, though. I'm going to give you a chance to continue. Here's the other thing while you're there that you cannot dispute is the fact that the last government elections, local government elections, people voted across racial lines. Even an independent study that was conducted by the Democratic Alliance, by the former leader, indicated that, in fact, you lost the white vote that voted along racial lines. And hence, that question of a strategy to attract a black vote becomes relevant in as far as how does the DA then grow its national footprint and become the actual alternative government?
Yes, so I'm going to have to complete my initial thoughts here. Because again, when we go into a local government election, Thabo, your record in government is important. And that's why I was saying right at the beginning of my response that we've got to bring that in. People like the EFF don't know what it is to run a government. They've never had an opportunity. I'm very pleased to hear that they're ready to govern. They don't know what it's like to run a government. But here's an organization that has over the years taken on municipalities, cleaned them out, and delivered to people. Your record in government does become a relevant question when you're looking at whether or not you can be an alternative to the ANC, because ultimately people need to be able to see what it is that you cannot do. And then to your question around the segment of the population and which people are voting for you. And I said to you right at the beginning of this conversation that the Democratic Alliance has a unique function and a unique opportunity to say we will not divide South Africans along racial lines. We will not exploit the racial inequalities that are in South Africa by simply rising either on the right or rising either on the left of populism. And populism is something that is erupting across the globe. What we are saying is that ours is a unique opportunity to say we want to build a non-racial South Africa where people can trust a government that they've elected into office, where it's not about whether or not you are either a right-wing populist or a left-wing populist, whether it's about competence, where I believe that people want to go to the voting polls and they want to vote a government that will be competent. And right now, people are losing their faith in the political system because they're not being able to see what other political parties are able to do.
All right, let's take some WhatsApp messages because we are going to run out of time. Let me quickly run through these WhatsApp messages and I'll give you an opportunity all to have your closing shot at it. From Macau saying, let opposition parties unite to form one big organization in order to have impact. The challenge of opposition is that the IEC is not serious about voter education. IEC does not educate our people. Some people who are not happy about the ANC choose not to vote instead of voting for other political parties. Isaac Satechi. And from LR saying, we don't have strong opposition parties in South Africa. Some people will say, yes, we do, but they are not strong enough to remove the ANC. For me, the ANC doesn't have opposition in this country, but parties compete for power and state resources, of which leaves social issues unattended and poor people suffering and having no alternative except to abstain from voting. Final one from Morisha Muliswane. What we are told that the opposition is there both to monitor zealously and when we need be. Criticize what government does to present alternatives. What alternatives is the UDM presenting to us, the electorate, in terms of good governance? All right, General, let's start with that one.
Thank you very much. You are speaking to a converted. The UDM has been occupying the crease for some time, and I have listed the successes we have achieved. Indeed, we are still hitting 6s and 4s and will continue to do so. If you go to our website, www.udm.org.za, you will find that almost a week we write letters on behalf of various communities who wants to be helped, water, roads, waste management, and then also we don't shy to tackle some of the ministers who are misusing their powers, like in the education, defense, and so on. So the information is there, including our policies in our website. So I'm proud of what the UDM has done, and we're looking forward that we will be rewarded in future. Remember that even the current ruling party, it took them, not that it will take me almost 90 years to run a country. but it took them long. It's not easy. But if the playing field is level, especially that of telling ANC or banning it that they must not use government monies, then I'll be comfortable. But let us also remember. Okay.
All right, we're out of time. But let me give you the final word here with us tonight. Unless you have removed the ANC from power, I mean, what you can say you have achieved, it seems the electorate doesn't believe it's effective in opposition.
Let me firstly say, Thabo, the ANC is not going to remain in power forever. Very soon, the ANC is going to be out of power, and the IFP also believe in a coalition government for the best needs of our people. Our clean track record in governance speaks volumes. We are accountable when we are given an opportunity, and when we are unable to deliver, we are not shy to go back and report to the electorate that here we experienced a challenge. The IFP is able to take head on the ANC with all food parcels and the resources of the state. We have demonstrated many times. We demonstrated it at Ngutu when the whole government of South Africa was taking Ngutu rerun in 2017 as a national election. They came with everything.
Right.
We said to our people, take everything, but don't vote them, and they actually did so. Even now, as we are approaching the local government elections, we will be encouraging our people. Take the money, take the food parcels, but don't vote them because they only remember you during election time. Vote the IFP. You know the record of the IFP. Many municipalities will be coming back home.
We'll leave it there because we are out of time, Babu Hlabisa. Much appreciated. Thank you very much for joining us on Mgcini Tshwaku, Velenkosini Hlabisa, Siviwe Gwarube, and Bantu Holomisa with us tonight. And thank you for your tweets as well as sending us through your WhatsApp messages tonight. When we continue next, former colonial ruler Belgium will return the last remains of Congo independence leader Patrice Lumumba to his family 60 years after his assassination. We speak to Professor Pierre Lowe in a moment. Stay with us.